Tyler, welcome to the Closing Authority.
I'm stoked to be here, Liam.
Where I want to start is what was that moment for you that made you even think to get into something like high ticket? Like, how did
Oh,
that come about?
I remember it like it was yesterday. After college, I worked for a nonprofit in Jackson, Mississippi. So I went to school and I double majored in public relations and Bible.
Hmm.
And like any good church girl would do, I went on to spend a lot of hours serving people for no money, which is fine and deserves its time in the world. But there was a moment I worked at a foster care group home, and it was incredible and it was amazing, and our kids were amazing, and the mission was amazing. And in a nonprofit, if you don't have boundaries, the way a nonprofit works is it will take everything you have to give until you find a no. And so, I mean, it got to the point that like I was spending weekends as a fill in house mother to 10, 13 to 17-year-old girls. And so I was like working my 50-hour work week, but then also spending the night for the weekends to play mom at 20, the world's most underqualified mom. Um, and, um, but there was a day at work that I was violently ill, like throwing my guts up. And I went into my boss's office and I was like, hey, I'm vomiting. I'm going to go home. And he was like, no worries. Just make sure you bring me a doctor's note so that you get PTO. And I was like, what? And he was like, I need a doctor's note to put on file to prove you were sick so we can pay you for your time. And I was like, I'm going to throw up on your carpet. There's no way. And that is where I found my no. And that is the moment when I was like, oh, I have no freedom, no flexibility. Like, I feel like I'm doing this good thing and it's at the expense of me. And so that's when I started going, I wonder what's next. And I had a great friend who was selling for a company called Traffic and Funnels in 2020. And he is a normal guy, smart as can be. He was making insane, to me, it was insane at the time, money. And I called him and I was like, are you doing something illegal? He was like, no. And I was like, I want an interview. And so he connected me with the sales manager, and my first high ticket role was as a setter at Traffic and Funnels. And like that's how I ended up in the world of
And
high
when was
ticket.
that? When was that?
This was 2020. So 5 years, almost 6 years ago, 5 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. And as you jump into that first role, right? Like, you you didn't come from a place of sales experience. Like, what? How was that transition? How did you find that?
Okay, so I knew that I could talk. I knew that I could sell myself. On my interview, I was like, listen, no one's going to work harder than me. And they were like, you're going to be the only girl on the team, and girls have not done well here. And everybody's like 22. Everyone was so young, and just, it, everyone was so young. And they were like, girls don't really do well here. Good luck. And I was like, oh, I'm about to kick ass and take names. Like, just give me a chance. And if I suck, you can fire me. Um, and so I didn't have any, like, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what I was going to learn. But honestly, I ended up moving to Franklin. So I worked remote for 2 or 3 months, and then I was like, I should just move to the office. Um, and so then I was there for like 12-hour days trying to figure it out. And it was the best place to figure it out. I mean, it was at the time the culture with the warmest leads, the most opportunity. Like a dud could be a hero if they just worked hard enough. And I kind of think that's what happened for me. And so, like, I just worked hard to figure it out and failed forward. I just screwed up and then said, sorry, let's try again this way. Over and over and over again. But it was just grit. It was not talent. It's still not talent. I wasn't good, you know? They just,
Oh, you're very good.
I'm better now, but they had a need, they had an opening. I was willing. I did what I needed to do to get the chance and then just tried to make the best out of what I had available for me.
What was it like? Because nowadays, a lot of people getting into the high ticket space, they don't just, from what I see, they don't just end up there like yourself, right? It's not just through a random connect. It's very intentional. So they're kind of almost like self-prepared a little bit prior,
Mm.
right? They're like, I want to get into this. I want some remote. I want some flexibility. And then they, maybe look to get a coach, and then maybe they look to get into an offer. That's like the usual way someone transitions. But you just saw a friend that was kicking butt and was just like, hey, I need to do what you're doing if that's legal. Like, I need to be in
Yes, I might have considered doing it if it was illegal. Not actually. But no, yeah, I did. I just kind of fell into it. And it was interesting because the moment I opened up the idea in my head that, hey, this nonprofit situation that I'm in, which I'd poured everything into, this might not be the thing, then my eyes were open to other opportunities. Um, and that's just the one that I fell into. Just kind of beautiful. And
And
it's
how
changed
long?
my whole life. That moment really has changed. Like that has set the trajectory. It's the reason I met my husband. It's the reason that we're doing what we're doing. I think I don't know that all of this would have fallen together had I not been a setter for traffic and funnels in 2020. It's the
How
best.
long were you with Traffic and Funnels for?
So I was a setter there for about a year,
Hmm.
and then I probably set for less time than that. I probably set for a solid 8 months. And then they built Sales Mentor. And they needed someone to actually catch the clients once they were sold in. And they came to me and said, and at the time, my motto was I would die for our clients. I would die for our clients. I would trade my favorite loofah for a porcupine for our clients. And so they came to me and they were like, hey, we think that this might be a seat that makes sense for you if you would be willing to come in and act as the sales mentor for these clients who are being sold into this offer. Which, again, how unexpected. Who was less qualified? There was no one less qualified. Like, huh? Are you kidding me? And so, but I was an absolute yes because there was the idea of you'll build a team and you'll get to manage and you'll get to lead and you'll get a cool title, and those are formerly were my language, my love language is title and praise and affection and trophies. Um, and so I did that and built that out for probably another 8 months. So I was there about a year and a half altogether. Um, and then moved on to what was next. So sometime setting and then sometime in what I didn't know it at the time was client success. That wasn't a word yet.
Yeah.
And so it was just, hey, will you build this thing that we're already selling because we have a refund issue? And I was like, yeah, I think I can do that. And it turns out that that is a thing that's the thing I like to do. I'm really good at it. And so that was my first formal client success opportunity. And it didn't have a name at the time.
You were the OG client success. You were the OG CSM.
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah.
So, when you got into that, right, and you transitioned from doing the setting to doing the CSM side, what do you feel like shifted for you? Because you stopped talking to like cold prospects. You're now talking only to people that have already bought and people that are in the program. Like, what did you find, I guess, is like the biggest, yeah, the biggest thing that was stopping the refunds for you? What did you put in place that was just like, this was picking up the slack?
Yeah, a couple things. One was just structure. Like people need to leave a sales call and know where they're going next. Otherwise, they get lost. That's the one thing all high ticket businesses are doing wrong. Almost all. 90% of high ticket businesses will enroll their clients and send them on their merry way. I was actually just talking to someone this morning and I was telling him we need to book an onboarding call from the sales call. Because I was like, your clients are getting on these calls with these dapper young 22-year-old young bucks, giving them 10 grand, and then they're leaving the call like without a next date or appointment. No wonder they have bad dreams and they wake up terrified and they ask for their money back, you know? So that was one thing, was just structure, in that everyone needs to know where they're going next all the time, on every call. The other thing was really, truly getting to know clients outside of like the templated sales notes. Like when a client says, my why is my kids, what's your kid's name? And what do you want their lives to look like? Like, you know, like that I have no issue with and have always been really good at. Just because freedom has always been my language of like, when I worked at the children's home, I wanted those kids to have freedom. I wanted them to have the structure in their lives so that they could lean towards freedom. In setting, I wanted to help these cold prospects have freedom and finally find financial freedom and business success. In Sales Mentor, it was the same. Like, I want to do what you need to get you access to freedom. And at the time, now I would say I'll meet you 50-50, but at the time, like, I would meet you 200-0. Like, I would fly to your house and kiss you on the head before bedtime and read you a bedtime story if it would make you sleep better. That was the thing. And like that sheer grit, that did a lot for the company and also just for the future closers that were coming through the program. Like, I still have relationships with people who bought OG Sales Mentor that will like, they still update me on the wonderful things happening in their lives now that they don't clerk at Walmart. And that is precious, you know?
Very. I still remember the first high ticket program that I bought, and I still remember my CSM. Huge impact. Huge impact. So, yeah, I can understand why they still reach out. Funny enough, I literally texted my CSM last night, reaching out. You know him. He was, oh my goodness, why is the name slipping my mind now? It's always the case. It'll come back to me.
Only when you're recording.
Yeah, exactly. But okay, so you were at Traffic and Funnels. You built out the CSM side to help with retention, and then you moved on after about a year and a half of working with them. What was next? Like, where did you end up moving to, and why?
Yeah, so I was in Nashville, and when my season of Traffic and Funnels ended, it was like a breakup. It was like a messy breakup, and I was like, I've got to get out of here. And so I did what all 22-year-old white girls did, and I booked a one-way flight to Tulum, Mexico. And I had some job interviews lined up. I had a couple of great offers from amazing companies. And it's funny because now if I could go back and mentor my younger self, I would have told her to do something different than what she did. But I ended up like freelance working with a young couple who was trying to create a startup, a business consultancy, and I was going to be their client success. And that was fine. Like, it was fine. I learned a lot. But I moved to Mexico and I did that. So fully remote. Worked with a couple of really cool accounts and cool clients, and did that for 4 to 6 months, and then got connected to Remote Closing Academy. And so it was a short, like a couple, maybe it was a little longer. The season might have been like 8 or 9 months of doing a little bit of freelancing, doing some consulting. At one point, I thought that I was going to be like a free 5-day challenge consultant. Ended up not wanting to do that, mostly because I worked with a mindset coach who took a bunch of sales calls and closed no one. And she came to me and she was like, I realized I didn't really want to close. And I was like, we just did all this work. What are you talking about? And so then I was like, that's not the gig. But ended up getting connected with Remote Closing Academy and Closers.io in 2022. And so that was kind of the transition to there. Was a lot of tacos and tequilas and bebopping around and having fun, and making enough to live a beautiful and freedom-filled life. Yeah.
Now, when you came into Remote Closing Academy, what changed? Because I know some big things happened as that happened.
What changed in the sense of
In
like,
you, in you.
yeah, yeah. I think, well, a couple things. Remote Closing Academy was a second loop to the same lesson that I should have learned from Traffic and Funnels. Really, it's the third loop. There was finding validation in the job at the nonprofit, finding validation in my work at Traffic and Funnels. And so Remote Closing Academy was like, here it is again. And I was all in. I did not learn a lesson at all. And so for the first season, it really was, I ate, slept, and breathed work and Closers.io and RCA. Um,
Mm.
we, when I started working there was not a lot of structure to the program. Um, Coaches were basically being assigned clients and just kind of there to be firefighters if they had problems or couldn't get through the work themselves, which meant long days, lots of refund requests, and talking people down and filling in the gap.
Mm.
The team did not have a set leader, and I wanted that seat really, really badly. And then on top of it, my boss was a hottie, and I had a big crush on him, and he ended up being my husband. But that came later. But yeah, it was interesting because it was like another opportunity to practice not finding full validation in work, and
Mm.
I totally did not win in that way. The lesson was not learned in that season, and that was really profitable for a lot of people, including myself. Um, but it's funny to look back at it and go, "Oh, there it was again." It comes back again. That story does not finish itself there. Like,
Well, that's actually funny enough where we first connected because RCA was the first program that I ever bought coming into the whole remote sales world.
isn't that the best?
Yeah,
I love it.
it's funny, and I remember the name now, Mitch Harris. Mitch Harris.
Mitch Harris is an amazing human being.
Yeah, if you're
He's
watching this, Mitch,
amazing.
you changed some lives.
You're the goat, Mitch Harris. He's the best.
When you were with RCA, you said you kind of came in and closers IO in general, but you said you came in because at the time they didn't really have a whole lot of structure and it was just putting out a lot of those fires. I guess how did you put yourself in the position to start to not be on defense and create a bit of an offense in that side?
Yeah. Well, the first, and I think that Brian might have shared this story on his episode about the crazy refund experience. Did he talk about that? Should I
No,
give
not
the?
as much actually. If you want to go through it, that'd be
Yeah.
good.
We had a we had a moment at Remote Closing Academy where a disgruntled ex-employee banded together like all the women that had ever been closed into RCA and was like, this company should go down and I want you to help me. And she was a phenomenal closer. And so, yes, all these women were in. And one night on like a Saturday in the summer of 2022, our support inbox got like 300 of the same PDF letters with the subject line, refund my money or I'll report you to the FTC. And at that time, I was not managing anything. Like I was a team lead, but wasn't managing. And Brian ended up met with a lawyer and drafted a letter and said, if you want to qualify for a refund, we have contracts from you, and so we need to get on a call and hear your story and make a decision based on the data. And so he took calls with these disgruntled women who wanted their money back for like 9 hours a day for like three
And
weeks.
and just to put in perspective, at the time, was the program still 10,000 or was it slightly cheaper at the time?
I think it was 8,800.
Okay. So
Yeah.
just to do some quick maths for the viewers, just so you understand and can have the magnitude around it. That was like $2.5 million of refunds that got requested at the same
And
time.
that subject line, refund me or I'll report you to the FTC, it takes like three people like the FTC language is not funny, and
No.
it does not take a lot of reports to the FTC to open up an investigation that is, first of all, incredibly invasive. Second of all, does not follow any of the rights and freedoms that the American people have. Like, it's a government mafia. And so I think sometimes we throw around this like, oh, the FTC. Like, when the FTC is going to investigate you, which they never, there was, RCA never had a run in with the FTC. There was no investigation. That was never ever an issue for us. And when they do, they freeze your bank accounts. Like, they freeze everything. You go to jail. It's a whole thing. And so Brian takes all of these calls with these women, and he walks 95% of them off the ledge. Some of them deserved refunds. He looked at their cases. He looked at how many coaching calls they'd had. He looked at their experience and said, we didn't do you right. And like, we want to leave you better than we found you. And so we'll take this back. We'll give you this back. But he saved the day in a huge way. And what that experience taught us was, if this many people were able to look at their experience with our company and go, yeah, I'm willing to send a letter that threatens legal action, our company needs to reassess the process we're taking these people through and how we're loving and serving them. And so that was kind of the catalyst for building out a structure for Remote Closing Academy that, like, coaching call 3 for all the coaches is the same, and you get the same thing on coaching call 3 as somebody else did with a different coach. And there's a process that if you show up and you follow the process, you actually get the result. And it sounds silly, but people forget that these businesses are built by young people who are figuring it out, you know? And so it was a really beautiful experience to come out on the other side and still be able to course correct, because it could have gone differently. They could have handled it differently, and maybe it wouldn't have, maybe everything would have changed. But it really was the moment where we were like, oh, it's so serious that we serve more intentionally from a place of what gets the most people the result. And 90% of high ticket businesses have not asked that question yet. They're selling the Planet Fitness model, hoping that people don't show up because they don't have the capacity to handle them if they do. Like, it's kind of a thing in the high ticket industry that young bucks have realized that they can sell a thing, but they haven't built the thing to be the transformation that's sold on the sales call. And that's just truth. It's, no one's better or worse because of it. It just is really important that people really ask, would I be proud, or would this program get my mother the result? Like, if my mom bought this program, would she get the result that we promise? And people just don't think about enrolling people that they love often. So that was the impetus for adding structure. And Brian and I got to work on that project together, again, because I was still doing that. I would die for our clients. Like, I would shave my legs with barbed wire for our clients. And so it was just kind of like well, hey, Tyler, you care for them so much, like, let's put this together, and then you kind of spearhead helping the team move into this new season of doing this whole job a different way. Yeah, that's kind of how that played out.
When did you and Brian start to connect and, move that forward from he's my boss to this is my man?
It was nothing and then everything. And that situation was actually really funny. At that time, we were very, very much coworkers. Like, we weren't texting, we weren't anything extra. And I remember also, I was a snooper in all the jobs I do. I want to look at people's calendars and see how people are spending their days. And I saw he was taking 90 hours a week of these calls. And so I sent him an edible arrangement to his house. And I think it had a note that was like, you're doing great. Please don't kill yourself. Love, Tyler. And that was my first flirt, which is a really weird way to start the kick off of flirting. But we met each other in person. We met each other in person, right? I want to say right after that experience. It might have been right before that experience where we met each other in person at a work event. And Brian tells the story that we had dinner on this roof, and I sat down across from him, and he knew that I was going to be his wife. Um, I did not have that like and I knew moment. The first time that we met in person, I ripped Brian Ostermiller for several things. I was so ugly to him. I was so ugly to him, and I'm so glad that he tried again. Because it was not cute and it was not flirty. But he says that he knew, and so he just started like slowly on our work calls, started asking me more personal questions, asking about my real life. It wasn't just tell me your numbers. Um, and so we kind of started talking about life outside of work. And then I told him one day, I'm thinking about leaving Mexico. Like, I think my time here is over. I don't really know what I'm going to do next. Maybe I'll travel the States. And he said, well, I mean, all of the executive team is in Scottsdale. You should really consider coming to Scottsdale and spending some time here. This is so important to you, and maybe that could be good. And I, like any 24-year-old young white woman, bought a one-way ticket to Scottsdale, considered an invitation, and I moved to Scottsdale like a week and a half later, like a crazy person. Um, and he called me the week before I landed and said, hey, I have tickets. He's from Utah. The Utah Utes were playing a football game in Phoenix the day I landed. And he was like, I have tickets to this football game. Would you like to go with me? And I was like, yeah, that'll be great. And he was like, great, I'll pick you up at this time. Just send me your address, whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this a date or is he just nice? It, I don't know. He didn't call it a date. So we went on what was our first date, but the whole time I was still confused. Is he just being my nice boss, or is this a date? And it did not. We hung out a couple more times before. One time he made me a steak in his apartment, and finally I was like, okay, do you do this for everybody, or like, is this normal? And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, do you just make steaks for everybody, or is this more? Is this special? And we laughed that we had a verbal prenup. We had a conversation where we were like, look, I think you're cute. I think you're cute. I want to kiss you. We cannot ruin each other's lives or work careers over this if this doesn't work out. And so we shook hands like a bunch of men and then smooched and liked it. And we did not ruin each other's lives. And that was the fall of 2022. Yeah.
Moving quick.
Oh,
Moving
yeah.
quick.
Really quick. And then from there, we were attached to the hip and like partners. And that's the other thing about the success that we found rebuilding RCA, because we added a whole new structure to Remote Closing Academy. We hired like 6 more coaches. At its height, we had a team of 13 coaches. We launched a back-end mastermind, collected 7 figures there. We started doing in-person events. They were life-changing for people. And I tell people all the time that empires are built during pillow talk. Like, couples should partner in business if they've got the capacity, because empires are built during pillow talk. We were just in sync more than anyone else. And so we moved in our romantic partnership, but also in the business really aggressively and really quickly, and always landed on our feet.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, we met in 2019. Saw her at the gym. Tried to impress her with my lack of skipping. Funny enough. And it was a couple weeks of like seeing each other at the gym, seeing each other around, and then I was like, do you want to like have a do you want to have a workout together? And then after the workout, I was like, oh, what are you doing for lunch? Like, obviously trying to make a date. And she's like, oh, I'm gonna go home and have chicken and rice. Classic gym girl. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, do you want company? And um, she's like, I don't have anything planned. Like, I don't have anyone planned to come over. And I was like, my goodness, you are not getting this woman. I was like, should we go pick up some food and then go back to your place and have some lunch?
Mm.
Um, and I bring this up just because you talk about moving quickly. That first day, I spent the night, and we had never we hadn't spent a night apart from that first day. I officially moved in after 2 weeks of dating, where I went to her roommate because she was living in a flat with a roommate,
Mhm.
and I had my own place. And I went to her roommate, and I was like, "Hey, man, I don't think it makes sense for me to have my own place. I think I should be living here." And he's like, "You guys just started dating," and I was like, "Yeah, I know. I think like I can tell." And I was like, "It's all good with you. I haven't even told her yet that I'm thinking this." And he's like, "Yeah, like that's all good, man. I don't mind." And then I go to her and I say, "Hey, um, I think we should live together. I think we should live together full time. Like I'm here every day anyway. We've known each other 3 weeks, right?" And she's like, "Oh, I'll have to talk to my roommate." And I was like, "No, no, no, it's already done. I sorted that. Don't even worry about it. It's just if you say yes." So I bring that up because, like, man, when you know, and there's no reason to wait.
Yeah. What's the best example? I mean, we talk about like love on the map of consciousness all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
like the only way to like, how do you know you love your mom? Everybody's like, I just do. And it's like, yeah, you just do. Like
Mm-hmm.
that, when you know, there's no reasoning yourself out of it. And if you're capable of being communicative and healthy, why not? Like this whole wait around and see and keep my options open. Like, heck no. Lock me in. Let's get matching neck tattoos, you know? Um, it just, it's better that way, I think.
Really is. So it kind of sounds like that was a bit of a catalyst to the rebirth of RCA, right?
Yeah.
Was the two of you being lock and step at that point moving forward? I just for the sake of time today, I do kind of want to fast forward a little bit
Mhm.
to when you guys decided to move on from RCA
Mhm.
and decided, I know obviously a lot on his side and Cole and shutting everything down, but what was going through your mind as you go through that next chapter of life? Like how was that for you?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I left closers.io before Brian did. I experienced some hormonal craziness that like I at the time called my manager and was like, I don't think I can lead this team well in this state and like I need to close this chapter. And that was the summer of 2023, late into the summer of 2023, 2024. No, it was
Mm.
2023. And so Brian at the time was they were doing Scalefront, which is like an equities portfolio. So they were scaling like 7 business at once. Um, so I replaced myself and stepped out of Remote Closing Academy and spent a season not working, which is when I became wildly aware of the pattern of finding validation in work. And that's where the work on that system really started for me.
And I want to
But
go through that. I really want to dive into that in a minute.
for us, when it was time to close RCA, and it had been an incredible chapter, um, and it had had its ups and downs, and it had had like a down. It had had a down that neither Brian or Cole thought we want to build this back up because they had the medicine company popping off. And it was like, yeah, we can spend the next 6 months rebuilding this thing that we've been doing for 3.5 years, or we can gracefully stop it and let it go down and take those closers and plug them into avenues that are already making us more money. And that was the obvious, like it was something they were excited about. And so it was just an obvious, like the time has come moment for them. And I don't think I have any big feelings about it because it was the right thing. Like it was the right thing at the right time with what they knew and what they had going on. And it was really brave, I think, of them to put their eggs in a new basket after this basket had been fruitful for so long.
Mm.
Like it was just admirable. I mean, RCA was Brian's first monumental. I mean, he did agency hypergrowth before, but RCA was like a monumental win for a 23-year-old man. It was big. It was a big thing, and so I think it was really brave, both of them choosing to trust that they were capable of having the same success with a different vehicle. Like it was a hard decision, and it was really admirable how they both handled it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now, you said that when you parted ways with RCA, this is really when you started to break that cycle of depending on work for validation and depending and attaching your, which I think a lot of people can relate to. A lot. I know I have.
Hmm.
I'm curious, can you walk me through like how did that actually happen? What did you do and how what changed?
Yeah, I probably spent 6 months just in a pit. And
Mm.
like, I was like, I'm not using my time and my talents. And I really can't to my max capacity right now. Like, my energy is different in a way that it never has been my whole
Mm.
life. And so this season is really for focusing on that. And also, Brian was like, Tyler, you could be a stay-home housewife if you want. I don't care what you do with your time. And to me, I was like, that's terrible. And then there was a little voice in the back of my head that was like, you should really dig into why that sounds so terrible.
Mm.
Um, and honestly, I saw the problem but didn't know what to do with it for that full like 6 months. And then I got a next job where the loop played itself again. And
Mm.
so I got a job at a company as the client success director of a company that was doing 7 million a month front end.
Whoa.
And I was going to do the same thing I'd done for RCA, which is help build them a fulfillment system that actually gets the results at scale. And the paycheck was nicer than what I was getting paid at RCA. The title was incredibly formal. They had like a brand, and it was a noteworthy brand and a business. And so I took this job thinking, oh, this is so perfect. And it wasn't until probably 2 or 3 weeks into the job I realized, oh no, I'm out of alignment with this situation. Um,
Mm.
that they hired me to do something that they think that they should do, but not that they actually want to do, and the energy kind of aligned with that. And so it was really difficult. It felt like I was forcing to get good change moved. And so there
Mm.
was a moment where I went, I know that this is out of alignment, and the paycheck, and the title, and the opportunity, and how it looks. And I stayed until I got fired, um, just because you can only work out of alignment with your boss. Like, if you're not in lockstep with your boss, there comes a point where they're like, this isn't working, and I don't know why, but we can find somebody else. And
Yeah.
that is the truest of what happened. And I had a big fat cry on my front porch that morning. And then I was like, oh my gosh, here it is again. This means so much to me, and I don't want it to. And so it was that pattern number 5 playing out that I was really like, oh, this is a worthiness program. Like, I'm putting my worthiness, my am I good enough, am I worthwhile, am I valuable, into what's my paycheck, what's my title, what are the trophies on the wall. And I don't want to do that anymore, especially because Brian, and here's the other thing that's true. In that same season, I was kind of viewing my relationship with Brian like we're in competition with each other. Like, I want to be
Mm.
just as good as he is at business, and I want to be just as great as he is at sales, and I want to be as important and as impactful on a microphone, which was just
Mm.
pride. like it was actual just pride level consciousness that everything meant so much to me. Um, and I was really tired of that story. And so what was really interesting is there was just a moment where I went, what if it's not true? Like, what if my worthiness has nothing to do with my job whatsoever? And I am just as awesome no matter what I do. And it was like a light switch that wasn't gradual. It was literally like a light switch of like, never mind, I choose to think that way. And Brian says this all the time, that change doesn't take time, it just takes change. And that was like, I literally lived that pattern out for 6 or 7 years before a moment on my front porch where I was like, I think I'm done with this. I think I'm going to do something different. And it changed the game for me, and it's changed our relationship. It's changed our marriage. It's changed our ability to do business together. Like, there's no forceful competition happening. Um, yeah. Yeah.
How do you find that? Because that's huge, and I don't want to gloss over that because I feel like a lot of people, and I know myself as well, have been stuck in that loop, and they don't know how to break out of it. And they first off, a lot of people, let's call it what it is, they don't even realize that it's that loop, right?
Mm. Two things. Well, actually, really just it boils down to one thing. When you put yourself in the room with truth, what needs to be exposed will be. And so, whether that means hiring a coach, finding a mentor, spending time with someone who lives fully in truth, what's really interesting is, and not with them like picking it out for you, you'll start to see untruth in yourself when you purposely spend time with people rooted in truth. I think that's the number one hack to change, is be around people absolutely determined to live in truth, because it changes your perception of things. And then at the point that you do become aware of it, what's really interesting is there's a season of time where you're aware of these issues, but you don't know how to fix them yet. Like when I was sick and tired and my energy was zapped, and the biggest thing on my mental, I mean, like my body was falling apart and my thoughts were literally, I'm such a lazy piece of shit because I don't have a job. And it's like, I don't think I could have a good job right now if I wanted to. But that was the constant thing on a loop. But at that point, I was seeing it, but I didn't know how to do anything about it. If I could go back and mentor her, I would say every time you have a big feeling, a big negative, constricting feeling, guilt, shame, fear, anger, overwhelming sadness, if you'll just watch what you do next, 99% of people pick up their cell phone. The moment that their heart rate goes up, they pick up their cell phone and they start scrolling a marathon and going, how can I numb this sensation? If instead you will take 1 2-minute period of time to put on a peaceful song and just sit in that feeling and examine it and look at it. You don't have to label it. You don't have to find out what it is or where it came from. Just what's going on here? Why am I experiencing this? I'm noticing what this feels like in my body. Then you can start to understand where it's coming from and start letting it go in a really meaningful way. But it's really hard to interact with what's really happening unless you have someone in your life who's rooted in truth. Oftentimes their bright light will shine in your darkness and you'll be able to see some things that you weren't seeing. And for me, it was Brian. Like, Brian has been the catalyst for my spiritual change 1,000 times over. His light is so bright that, like, I cannot help but be exposed. And when I'm thinking faultily, or I'm believing lies, or I'm telling stories, or I'm making meaning that doesn't have to be there, just being around him gives me the chance, instead of running the program on autopilot, it's in front of me now, and I can choose, do I want to run you or do I not want to run you? Which is cool. So I think that's the biggest hack, is finding humans absolutely rooted in truth and being as close to them as you can if you want to start becoming aware of your own patterns and programs. It's a hack. It's an absolute hack. It's like a red pill hack that, like it is, it's not the cheat code, but it'll show you the thing faster than anything else will. Which is cool.
Thank you. And guys, if you like this episode, part 1, we're going to be going much deeper in the second episode, if you can believe it. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and let us know your top takeaway. And make sure you show Tyler and Brian a little bit of love on the socials. They are doing amazing things, which we'll get into in that next episode. But thank you, Tyler, for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Part 1. I'm excited about part 2.
Tyler, welcome back to the Closing Authority.
What's up, Liam? Let's do round 2.
I am so excited for today because today we're going to get deep.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get to know you, and I also really want to see the way that your relationship with God has impacted your life and driven as a core foundation. But my first question is simply going to be, what was your God moment?
Oh, my response was, which one? The
We all have.
Lord, yeah, that the Lord has shown up again and again and again for me, and in different ways. God has reintroduced himself to me over and over again in the way that I would hear it and in the timing that made sense for my good and his glory repetitively in my life. And so I grew up religious. I grew up in the Baptist church in the Bible Belt. I was born and raised in South Alabama. You can't spit without hitting a church. And so the idea of like an ever-loving creator God who is the Father, but who's also super scary, because get it right or you're going to hell. It was the religious context I grew up in. The personal relationship with the Lord happened for me. That God moment was at 12, where I had a moment where I realized the weight of my personal sin and that Jesus on a cross thought about it and loved me enough anyways and signed up for that. In ministry, I found myself all over the planet. Being the hands and feet of Jesus at the time was the mindset. Now I look back and that's so beautiful and maybe a little prideful of we kind of forget what happened to those hands and feet. And like getting on an airplane and going to Guatemala and painting an orphanage wasn't necessarily it, but it was it for the context of that time,
Yeah.
And now the Lord has shifted. Our relationship has shifted in such a cool way as I've learned what it really looks like to step towards love and like to feel how the Father feels for the people that he made, whether they know that he made them or not. So the relationship has evolved, and there have been many God moments along the way. And there have been some moments of wondering and some desert wandering and saying, no, God, I'm mad at you. And he was there too in all of that. And so there's not a one-liner answer to that question. It goes,
No.
we go way back.
How have you found, though, like your relationship with God impacting your life? Like as you've gone through. That's a big question. I really want to hear like the full thing. So don't try and give a short answer. It's okay. But like, I know for myself, to give context, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know for myself, I grew up very similar. Like I grew up on the mission field at a young age. parents were both missionaries down in Mexico, building houses for the homeless, and like we were there in the thick of it, and like grew up with that my whole life. And then I was like 16, and I was like, oh, I'm yeah, I believe in God, but I started just living for myself. Right? I say it this way: I would die for God, but I wouldn't live for Him.
Mm.
And I did that probably up until like just 25 this past year, where I finally got back in track with him. And during that time, man, like it was, I knew he was there, but he didn't really impact my life for what I thought. Now I know his hand was all over it. Um, but yeah, that's a bit about like my experience with God. I'm curious for you, like, what did you do in those moments of like wavering? 'Cause it's
Mm.
scary.
Yeah. I mean, there was for me a season, probably age 22 to 25. It's
Mm.
about 3 years ago, where I like like I wasn't in church, but I was like on the run spiritually, physically. I like jumped shipped and moved to Mexico. I was figuring out who I was without help and provision, I thought. I'd kind of taken myself from the fold of a believer, like community of believers, and I thought that I'd remove myself from the hand of God. At the time, it felt like I had the power. That's so funny to think that I thought that I had the power to like take myself out of His hands. And I really did. I was like, oh, I am without the Lord, as if I could manage to be without the Lord in my wildest, like if I wanted to in my wildest dreams. Um, and this season was brutal in the sense that, first of all, I was actually just speaking with a mentor about this today. The human brain doesn't get done cooking until like age 25, 26. I know that when I raise my babies, I'm just going to tell them, listen, you're a grown up when you're 25, and mom will treat you like you're one when you're 25. But we let these young adults go off and try to do their own thing. And like now I'm almost 28 and I look back at that season of time and I'm like, one, praise God that I survived. And two, who the heck let me do that? That's crazy. Um, but when I look back on the season, there were moments where he continued and continued and continued to not only show grace and sovereignty, but to show me his face and remind me that he was still present, if only for me to be able to look back on and see that he was there the whole time. Like even I was just talking with a mentor about this today, that season where I was kind of wayward and wandering. I lived on one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. And I don't know if you know this, but like salt water scientifically transmutes emotion. Like it is good for people who are emotional. It is the most grounding. Like you should go live near a body of salt water. And I genuinely believe in that season of time where I was trying to cope with no coping skills and I was wandering around and figuring my crap out. If I hadn't been living near a beach, spending copious amounts of time in the salt water, I don't know if I would have made it out. And now I can look back and be like, God took me to Mexico. Like I got to, what if he taken me to Norway? Like what if it was Germany and there was no body of salt water to dip into every day? Would I have been all right? I don't know. So it's cool because I can look back and see his loving hand, even when I thought that I was running the show, he was there loving me still. That's amazing.
I love that. It, it's interesting how we can look back on things. And I know that you just did that this past week, and I feel like I feel like I'm now constantly doing that, where I think of a situation and I realize, holy crap, like there was way more God on that situation than I could ever imagine,
Hmm.
especially in the time. I'm curious though, how has your walk with God like influenced the way that you lead within business and in your relationship? Like how has that impacted?
Mm. Yeah, when Brian and I think about the commandments that Jesus gave his followers, really it was love me, love the people around you, become more and more like me every day. So that's our filter for business. How do we leave people better than we found them? How do we lead them in truth and love? How do we love them radically? And like we love people radically compared to, I don't like that comparatively, but like compared to a lot of business owners, like we love our people. um it really has shifted, it's shifted everything for us, and we've done business together. I mean, Brian and I have done business together for the last 4 years, worked with each other, and the difference in how we did business together, like back at RCA, for example, and the main focus of our business right now being like, how do we love these people the way Christ loves them?
Mm.
Because we see it as our mission field. Like, the most beautiful moments for us is when someone says, like, do you really love me? And we get to go, yeah, we do. And they go, why the heck do you act like what? Like, I'm in your $77 a month community. Why? You don't even know me. And it's like, I don't need to. Like, I know your inherent worth because you were made by a creator God who loves you. And therefore, I love you, dude. Like, love you, mean it.
Mm.
So really the Lord has shifted in our business. I mean, we've just injected it with his love. And like, it sounds a little woo woo and a little kumbaya, but it's been like, we have not marketed it. We've sold it to some, like we sell. We don't market, like we don't tell people what we're doing very often. And still organically, because love is a magnet, and also because people are yearning for it. The world
Mm.
desperately needs love. If you give it, they come. And so it's kind of shifted everything for us because that's the mission. Like, that is the point for us with our day to day.
And you guys really do. Like, I condone you on it because it has been incredible. The people that are in it, the community that's kind of come together around it.
Mm.
It genuinely, it feels like all the right souls in the high ticket space are just finding its way in. Like the good people that we want to be in contact, like they are in the community. I suggested, like I'm like, look, this isn't for a beginner. If you're not in sales yet, you can still come, right? But like other things. But if you're in sales and in entrepreneurship, there is no better low ticket community. There's, man, it beats like half of the high ticket paid communities, if not more. It's like the cheapest. Literally, I don't think there's a cheaper one on the marketplace.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Brian has genuinely changed my life. You know,
Mhm.
I love what he's done.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the point. Like, one of the things, and I tell people this all the time, one of the reasons we launched Sales Generators is because there's one really, really, really hard camp in the internet marketing space right now that is just more for the sake of more. Money is the point. Once you make enough money and it doesn't fix you, don't worry, there's a next level that will. Um, and it is loud, and it's a sexy message to market. There's all kind of quippy, buck your mood and follow the play. Like, there's all of it is just so quippy and sexy and easy to market, and it's killing people. It's killing people. Men, 77% of the people who kill themselves in this country are men. And men make up 90% of the high ticket sales market. And so they're being force fed this crazy garbage message, which the people spewing it don't believe. They are living their normal lives on the other side of the camera, but they're giving the message that sells. And young men whose brains haven't finished cooking yet eat it up, and then they go live it, and then they make 100K a year, 200K a year, 300K a year, and then they go, well, I should be wanting 80K a month, 90K a month. I want to be a gajillionaire. And it's every financial marker they get to, and it doesn't fix them. The hole gets deeper for them to get
Mhm.
themselves out of. And we built sales generators to catch people before they fall into that trap because Brian did. And I am, I feel lucky that he got out. Like, I feel lucky that he not only survived it, but survived it with a testimony,
Mm.
and was able to turn that around. But a lot of young men lose themselves to this more for the sake of more culture. And like, we're done with it. We're done with the damage that it causes on men and women and families and people's kids and business owners who just shit on each other and screw each other over because that's how business is. Like, I'm passionate about this being done because it's a culture that is not just toxic, but like it harms people, you know?
Mm. How do you find, because the high ticket world, it can be very chaos, especially in sales, but like sales marketing, like it is such a chaotic world. It very often becomes referred to like the casino. It used to be the wild wild west, now it's more the casino of high ticket space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious for you, like, how do you stay grounded in the scripture and in your relationship with God in such a chaotic space?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, one is we make space for it. Brian and I's kind of one of our deepest and most lived core values is that we honor the practice of stillness and creating space to be still and know that I am God. And that looks like meditation, and it looks like prayer. It looks like starting our day reading the word together and praying over each other together. The other thing that we do is we've just radically chosen truth next to love. And so the funny thing about going, you know what, I'm going to stand in truth, is you constantly get shown not truth. If this is truth, you constantly get shown not that. And so you have a moment to take a step back and go, let's get back to the truth with this one. And so it's this constant redirecting back towards truth. And the funniest thing about truth is universal. No one owns it. And it always ends back at God. And so we've been giggling because we tell, like, we do not, we keep laughing because we think our group might turn into a church at some point in 10 years. And
I
you
would
don't have to
not
be
be
religious to
surprised
be
at
there.
all.
Like, you don't have to be religious to be there. You do not have to be, you can come as you are. And what's so funny is in stillness, the reason that verse, that psalm says, be still and know that I am God, is in stillness, God becomes the only option. And so it kind of feels like we're sneaking people into it. We're like, let's try meditating, see what comes up. And they always end up back at the Lord, and we're like, yes, that's the best. So for us, it really is just every time we choose to point back to truth, God is on the other side of truth 100% of the time. So, like, that is the North Star that keeps us moving towards the Father, because He'll always be where truth is. Yeah.
And it's interesting you said about like the meditation side, um, kind of that gateway, if you will, because it was interesting for a long time in my life. Like, I went through a period where I was all about meditation. I went into it, but it wasn't with like God. It was literally just to create space within myself and using the tool of what it is. I've actually recently got into it, and some of this more like older stuff was Taylor Welch's The Deep End. I don't know if you've listened to it much,
Mhm.
but I really enjoyed it. And he put it in a very interesting way to me, and it was like the reason non-Christians and like kind of new age spirituality can be very successful is because like they are the gifts of the Lord, right? Like these things like meditation, like this, like they're not evil, right? They're just maybe not done fully centered onto God. And as you go through it, you're naturally going to be pulled back in because there's going to feel like there's a little piece missing. And that piece can only be filled by God. And I just thought that was so interesting because it was a complete different approach than how I've ever looked at it. I always looked at it as like, oh, this is like some woo woo stuff. Like, I know it works, but I'm like, is that like demonic? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Um, and I never had someone, it's like, is the gifts of the Spirit without the Spirit? I'm like, oh.
Yes. And the Spirit is the truth, right? The Spirit is the essence of truth, the unwavering essence of truth. The Spirit is the small ache in your chest that helps you discern, this isn't for me. This is not my path. It's the difference. It's the difference in, yeah, it's the difference maker in all of it.
You were telling me about a Bible verse um, just before we got cut, and it was talking where Jesus talks about like I think it was the stillness or something about creating space. Do you remember what scripture you were talking
It's,
about?
it's Psalm 46:10, and it says, "Be still and know that I am God." Um, yeah, Psalm 46:10.
I feel like that's a pinnacle inside of sales generators. I feel like if there's one scripture, I mean, there's a lot, but I feel like that so perfectly fits. So perfectly.
Because there's one, everybody is looking out there for the thing, the answer, the truth, the love, the achievement, the accomplishment, the worthiness. It all comes back. What we've learned recently is it pretty much all comes back to a worthiness issue of what makes me good, what makes me worthy, what makes me valued as a person, or valuable as a person. Um, and the only answer is I am. We are the workmanship of a creator God who loves us. And the fact that we were created by him inherently is the price of our worth. Like there's the measure right there. And it is priceless. It can't be quantified. And so people are always looking out there for all of the answers. And it's like right here is the answer. And if you'll just be still and know the I am that made you. And it takes time, and eventually you cut through the fluff and you cut through the crap and you get some of the yuck off your life and you get there. It's not, it's simple, not easy. But what we found over and over and over again, and now this is some 280 people deep now, is that the overwhelming majority at some point go, oh my gosh, there's a God. And we don't get hung up on like, is it the God of your youth? Do you use the word universe? Because we don't get hung up on it. Our definition of God is the original source of everything, including love and truth. The source, the creator of it all, the one who was there before we were. The overwhelming majority get to a point where they go, oh my gosh, I was created by the source of everything, and therefore I am an extension, his own creation, his extension. So I am good. I'm good. I'm worthy. I'm loved. I'm valuable. And it's funny because people hear that and they go, well, I know, and they like know it with their head, but they don't know it at a soul level with like an experienced knowing. But when you learn it experientially for yourself for the first time, it's like Brian tells the story all the time about the time when he realized that people could love him just because just because he's good. And not good as in I'm a good person, but good as in like I'm worthy of love. And like it was a day that rocked his world. It blew his mind. So it's fun because it takes some people longer than others, but truth leads to truth, and like truth leads to God pretty inevitably. No matter how long you try to fight it or avoid it or say that it doesn't, there will come a time where you meet him in a new light and you go, oh my gosh, it was you this whole time. That's crazy, you know? And so like we love fostering a community and a space where that can happen. And we can hold all the ugly that might be separating someone from seeing that. We have the capacity to hold it with them and let them look and dig and find and seek and be still and know. And so it's become the mission, and it wasn't originally like, we call it sales generators. I laugh because school won't let you rename the group. I don't know that sales generators is like totally of what's happening. I wish we'd known that we were going to use the word clarity when we first started, but we didn't. That has all shifted. But this has shifted into a group of people seeking truth and finding Christ, honestly. And that has been, it's so cool. I can go on for years.
It's funny when, well, not funny, it's amazing because having that resource there, to be honest, like as someone that is in a very technical term, an end user, right? Person benefiting inside the community. I I love having it, not just for myself. I get so many benefits, and like I said, Brian and yourself have been incredible to work with. But more when I have friends and I have people that I see inside of sales that are struggling, being able to be like, hey, bro, like, I think you should go check out this sales training. And it's almost like a mini disguise
A
where
Trojan
it's like,
horse.
yeah, yeah, like this is going to help you out. Like, just don't even stress about it. Yeah, it's some sales training. So the sales training. And then they come inside and then they're like, holy crap, love, clarity, peace. And I'm like, yeah, that is the key. But you wouldn't have come if I said that. So
Yeah, it
there
is
is
funny.
sales.
It is. It's funny. I mean, the truth, and there is some incredible sales training. We do focus on sales. All right, 3 days a week we're doing sales training. Okay, we're doing it. It's there. But what's funny that people forget is that who you are is the only constant on your sales calls, friend. Your crap is showing up with you to every call. So do we want to like deal with that, or do you want to keep trying to figure out how to go up the mountain with that baggage? Or like we use the analogy all the time of like climbing an old rope in like a middle school gym, and it's like you've got these 100-pound ankle weights on your feet, and if I tell you to climb the rope, 99, actually 85% statistically, thanks Dr. Hawkins, 85% of people are gonna like go to the gym and start working their biceps so that they can get stronger, so that they can be capable of climbing up the rope with these ankle weights on. Less than 15% is gonna work on taking off the ankle weights. And like, wouldn't it just be easier if you just take off the ankle weights? But people don't think that way. They think, well, I'm going to learn to objection handle, and I'm going to learn how to set the frame with authority, and I'm changing my background and I'm going to hang a wolf on it so that people know I'm a badass. And like, they do all these things to work around the fact that they are bringing themselves to the call every time. And when we try to lead from a place of lower self, anger, or pride, or fear, or shame, or guilt, or grief, when we try to lead from those places, but we're like trying to be seen as this like courageous and fearless leader, what we don't know is happening is our energy is screaming, this person's not congruent. They brought all this stuff to the call and they're telling you that they haven't, but they have. And the people that we're selling can feel it, except for the 15% who are just like us that we're capable of closing with ease. And so it's like, yeah, sales training is great and we have a ton of it. And who is showing up to take the call? That is like 90% of the battle. So do we want to take the time to work on that? I think it's a good question to ask for all the sales reps who have done, like if you're a sales rep, I'll just say it right now. If you're a sales rep and you have spent any money on a high ticket sales course, I don't care whose it is, they're all pretty much the same. And you've learned how to do an 8-step closing call, and you have had any amount of coaching, and you've had any call reviews and you've been closing on an offer for 6 months or more sales training is not what you need. Because you have what you need to close deals effectively if sales training and skills were all that mattered. And like, sorry for the sales trainers, it's just the truth. There's a point where like your 50K bank of courses is not going to overcome the fact that you hate yourself, or that you're terrified of going back to being poor, or that you're mad at your dad and you want to prove how great you are, or that you want FU money to rub in your high school bullies' faces. It's your sales skills are not going to outweigh any of that, and people can smell it from a mile away, and there is no pretending it's not there. And if you do for too long, you're going to be left worse off, and you're going to lose yourself, and you're going to forget that there's a person that matters under all that persona. And so I don't even know what the question was that started that rant, but no one, it's 2025. We've all purchased one of like the big 5 sales training programs. If you've spent more than 8K on sales training and you've had a job for 6 months, you don't need more sales training. You heard it here. I'm not the only sales trainer saying this. We're all screaming it at you guys.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because recently, right? I've been in sales generators since, I don't know, December, January, right around then. Right, it's coming up 6 months. And it's impacted a lot of the way that I coach, right? And it's impacted the way that I am coaching individuals, but also coaching teams, and just like literally, I don't know if you know She Sells with Brooke. It's a big like
Yeah.
female sales community. So I'm one of the coaches on her sales team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of my sessions literally go, you need to give yourself peace, you need to give yourself some love, and you need to create space and lead with grace.
Yeah.
And like the amount of breakthroughs that are coming from that, it's like, yeah, we can teach you the tactics, yeah, we can teach you a word track, but like if you're not coming from a good place, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's funny, more on the side of the experience now, because I like literally in the last 24 hours since I put up my last podcast where I just went through my story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was just talking about like the map of consciousness from what I learned with Brian, and like living through clarity. And I had so many experienced reps reach out and be like, oh my gosh, like I've never thought about it that way, but it makes sense. I can't explain it besides it just makes sense. So, tribute to Brian. He's done some
Proud
pretty
of
awesome
him.
things.
He's great. He's the best. If you have not, I would say though, if you have not ever purchased sales training and you want to be a high ticket sales rep, get a coach. You do need sales training. I like to throw that caveat in there. I tell people all the time, like, if you're so bad that you need more sales training, I'll tell you. Or if you're brand new, there's no reason for you to figure it out by yourself. Like, pay someone, pay Liam Shaw to walk alongside you and get started and do it the right way from day one, because you don't have to figure it out like the rest of it. You don't have to figure it out like other people did. There's no gold star for showing up at the end line with like the most bumps and bruises. We would love for you to show up unscathed. So if you've never done sales training and you want to be in sales, pay Liam. Get some sales training. Move forward with confidence and a mentor that has clarity for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to pivot now. I want to talk a little bit about relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to talk, and I think to lead it into it, is how has faith played a role in your relationship? Like, not just inside of it, but also to navigate conflicts and like major life decisions.
Mm. Mm. It's shifted over time because Brian and I, when we started this relationship, were both in a season of relying on ourselves. And we were not oriented together on truth in the Lord. Um, and so the shift for us in realizing that one, like there is a universal truth, like there is right and wrong, there is correct, like there is truth, and it's universal, and it's true now, and it was true then, and it is timeless truth. That has shifted our relationship in a lot of the big ways, mostly because we're capable of loving each other at a deeper level when truth is the anchor. We love each other enough to say the hard thing that needs to be said. We love each other enough to gently hold up the mirror and say, hey, you've told me that this is something you want to work on, and I'd like to show you an area in your life where it needs work. We love each other enough to be courageous and acknowledge where truth is not being met and that's not being strived for in our lives together. And honestly, that just having the same goal and our vision set at the same horizon, I think has made us move. We just move through trials and tribulations together. Like we are in lockstep. Like we're side by side, shoulder to shoulder, in sync, working through it together. And the times when we're not, the actual minutes between us not being in lockstep and us being in lockstep have gotten shorter and shorter and shorter as we've learned to just show up in truth and love every day. As Brian leads me and loves me like Christ loved the church, and as I submit my will to the greater will, which I trust that his vision is set on the Lord and set towards truth, like his compass points due north, and so I'm happy to go where it makes sense that he says that we go. The peaks or the pits, I guess, are so much easier to navigate because we're as on the same page as we can be in almost every way. And when we're not, we're very willing to show up and figure it out together. And I think that is where people who have no faith aspect in their relationship, it can be a huge hurdle because one, faith is trusting that there is a truth, like an overall universal truth. When people negate that, things get really messy. Whose version of truth is right? Whose moral relativism is more correct? Who gets to, like, what do we get to do and who gets to make the rules? So I will say life gets a bit simpler when there is a North Star to point to. Like that really has changed. We just move through the yuck so much quicker because truth is the North Star that we're focused on. And so we can't get caught up in the snares and the fluff and the frivolous petty questions. We don't argue, we discuss. I've never heard Brian yell. We don't bash each other in public or private. We don't gossip about each other. Like, we're teammates in the most true sense of it. And like, we have each other's back. And a lot of that comes from, honestly, just the faith in a good God who loves us and an example of what that looks like. And I think some people just don't have an example of a good God who loves them, and so they kind of fall prey to the world's messaging about how things work and people are and what should be true, and things can get really messy and difficult, and it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary, and that doesn't mean that you have to be a religious Bible-beating couple in order to be happy, because it goes beyond just religion. I mean, when we talk about God, like, God's not confined to the four walls of a Baptist church. He sure as heck wasn't a white man. And like, he's, it's this boogeyman God that we've built with religion. A lot of people would get really stuck on the idea of that, and they're not capable of being in awe of the essence of God. And it's the essence of God that has really brought us back to God the Father. This consciousness journey initially did not start with a Christ centered anything. We learned about a guy named Dr. David Hawkins and started reading his books, and the map of consciousness was an amazing tool, and we finally felt like, wow, this is a way to understand ourselves and people. And it's been funny because we've been reintroduced to the essence of a loving God through consciousness as we move closer and closer, because as you move up the map of consciousness, you're just becoming more Christ-like. Christ was enlightened. Like, it's just the steps towards becoming more Christ-like and expanding your lens for truth. So I keep going on tangents, but it's just been funny, not funny, it's been amazing how a worldly tool, the map of consciousness, truly it brought both of us back. One brought us back into the fold of God, but with a completely new understanding of God, not as the religious boogeyman that we'd been raised with.
Mm.
You grew up Mormon, I grew up Baptist, like hellfire, brimstone, do it right, or you're going to lose your chance. This is your one time to get that fire insurance so you're not going straight to the pits when you die. This consciousness journey has brought us both back to the hand of God, and we've learned the essence of him without the religious dogmatic picture that you're given in Bible school or Sunday school as a child. And all of the truth is still relevant with none of the extra people projected ick.
And to tie into that, I guess like what does spiritual leadership in your home actually look like for you?
For Brian and I specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how you said that.
Yeah.
Brian is the spiritual head of our home. Um, and so a big part of being a wife for me is that I married someone that I feel confident to hand my blank check to. Like Brian has my full vote of confidence in his decision making for our lives. And if he moves wayward, if he drifts, if his vision falls, I have the right and the authority and the capacity to lovingly bring him back. And that is the masculine and the feminine. He has every right to lead. And if I see him drifting, I can help him come back on course. Practically in our home, he leads us in prayer. I mean, he says, like, let's sit down. Like this morning, he sat me down and said, like, I want to pray for you. And I'm like, thank you. I need it. I need it big time, dude. He leads us in our loving others. And this is different from a lot of couples, but we do business together. And so spiritually, he gets to be kind of the vision and the go out and get it for like, how do we love our people? Once they've been brought into the fold, then I get to nurture and I get to pour love into them, and I get to, oh God, I love them all so much. I get to nurture them deeply, and he is the one who gets to set the vision and kind of conquer a little bit. But that's what spiritual leadership looks like for us. And like, we were really clear on the day that we got married. I was really clear with Brian that I was marrying him because I trusted him with my yes, that he's got it. The way that he says that we go, I'm in. And I have the right, as he moves, if he drifts, which he really doesn't. And if he does, I have the right to come love him back on course. And that's what it looks like for us. It's kind of ethereal and not so practical. I don't know if I answered it.
No, that's great, Tyler. What I am curious is how do you, because being in a relationship and doing business together, it can be murky water sometimes. It can be the most amazing, like goes above anything. You're in lockstep, and it can also kind of make being a relationship just another task on the to-do list for the business, right? How do you make sure it doesn't?
We don't have like a secret sauce or a system.
Hmm.
Um, I don't have like an Asana board to make sure that Brian delivers flowers once a week or that, we don't have date night like
Don't.
calendar. No, we don't do that. I will say that what we've learned, one of the things that we've learned this year in stillness specifically, has been that the power of presence is significantly stronger than any amount of time.
Hmm.
Presence will always weigh more than time. 20 minutes of unadulterated presence with each other goes farther than a 3 hour half-assed day date where we were both on our phones or thinking about um, other people's lives that are not us. And
Hmm.
so, really, our big thing is that we have time set up to be present, and that we do delegate. Like, we have time for the business to be present in the business. We have business meetings, that helps. And then we have date nights and like time to be present with each other. We also have time designated to not be present. If we want to sit and read a book, or I don't know, sit and rot for 30 minutes, or put on a TV show, we don't count TV's quality time. Um, we just presence really has changed the game for us, but we don't have like a system.
Well, I
um,
think you just said what your system is.
yeah,
It's
that's
just
what.
being
Yes,
present.
yes, it's being fully present with each other for the task or the time that we've set up with each other. And then, like, we talk about business a lot, and there's time for us to do business. So that
Hmm.
helps that there's a time and a space where business is the point. And we talk about our lives and how much we love each other and all the fun things we have going on a lot. And there's a time for us to do that. And we do that at least once a week. And then also, that really does help. Not counting Netflix time as quality time. Like couples, if you go assess how much Netflix do I watch with my partner, and if that didn't count as quality time, how much time would I be spending with them a week? It'll change the game for some of you, because like this like parallel play side by side rotting as we watch 4 episodes of Peaky Blinders. Um, Even though you're beside each other, you're not with each other.
Hmm.
And it's interesting how much time people who feel so much distance, like a lot of the times people who spend the most time with each other feel the most distance from their partners. And so it's that unadulterated presence that really cuts through all the noise and extends the power of the relationship, I think.
What advice would you have to a young person, or especially a young Christian, right, about choosing a partner, and actually finding that person for you in the world that we live today, knowing how it is?
Yes, I was actually just talking with a young friend who I love so much about this today. The very first thing you focus on is yourself. Am I the man or woman who will be, am I the man or woman who will attract the kind of person that I want, who will be ready for my spouse when they show up, who will be capable of loving another person well while still keeping my own essence about me. So the first thing is you grow you, dude. You grow you, girly. That's the starting point. Because I think we do this thing all the time where we pray for the perfect partner. And sometimes I look at my young friends. We have a lot of like 21-year-old young buck guys in sales. And they're like, I just want my dream girl. And it's like, if she was in this room right now, would you even be able to pull her? Like, would you? So the first thing I would say is are you becoming the best version of yourself? Are you becoming the person that's capable and powerful of magnetizing, of attracting an incredible relationship and managing it and moving it forward, because it takes a lot of freaking work. It takes a lot of work to do it well, and it's really easy to do it poorly. The second thing I would say is getting crystal clear on who, the essence of who you want to be with. And this is not girlies who want someone who's 6'1" with blonde hair and blue eyes and he's got muscles you can see through his shirt, and like the looks are, sure, give yourself 3 or 4 bullet points for the looks if you want to. But what matters, what I want to know is, what are they like when they're angry? How do they argue? What's their argument style? What's their adaptability and their flexibility if they don't get their way? Are they living the same lifestyle as you? Are they spending time in the same places that you're spending time right now? Or if you don't like the people who are hanging out in the places that you're hanging out, should you go hang out somewhere different? Is that a sign that that's not your scene? Like, how do they love their mother and their sisters? So I think that sometimes men say, I want this perfect girl. And it's like, do you even know what the perfect girl looks like? Do you have that jotted down somewhere? Because how are you going to know it? How are you going to know it when you meet it? And then also, how does she make you feel? How does she make you feel? How does she treat you? What does she do in your heart? How does she refine you? How does she make you better? What's it look like for her to call you higher, to raise your standards, to raise the tide? Can you handle that? If you can't, go back to number one and work on you in that area, because we got some pride we need to dig into. But I think that the essence, people forget to decide, like, what is the essence of the kind of person I want to be with? And they just go, I want the perfect girl. And then they end up settling for someone who treats them poorly and is beautiful, but spends all their money and leaves them high and dry and is texting other guys. And it's like, well, we got to know what the details about that perfect girl. Like, what are the non-negotiables? Where does your vision get set and you not waver? Because typically when you set your vision at a point and you start moving in that direction, at some point you're going to look around and notice that there are other people walking in that direction with you. They're your people. She's going to be in the crowd there, I promise. But like, are you moving in that direction? So, twofold answer there.
I think it's so true. Like, looking back, man, God had his hand all over my relationship with my wife. And it's funny because both of us were distinctly not wanting a relationship when we met. We're both like, nope, not doing that. Yeah, you seem like a cool person, though. We should hang out, but I'm not doing a relationship. Nope, that's not where I'm at right now. And then it got to a point where I literally said to her, I think 2 weeks into hanging out, I was like, we need to just stop kidding ourselves and be boyfriend and girlfriend, because like we hang out every single day. Like, if this isn't boyfriend and girlfriend, I don't know what to call it, but this is a relationship and it needs to be there. But I think also, and I'm curious on your thoughts, like, it's kind of going into a relationship with two things, and it's a caveat on both sides. One, with like being clear and on yourself, like you just mentioned, right? On the other side is setting your intentions. I feel like one thing that there's a dating intention and then there's like a marriage intention. And the older I've gotten, the more I realize that I'm like, man, I wish someone would have told me the difference. That there's a difference between dating someone to date them and dating someone because you want to marry them. And I feel like it's just the intention. Like, the acts don't really change, but it's the intention behind it. Like you just described before, what are they like in the different scenarios? You actually get to know them as a human, not what they like, not what they don't like. Of course, that's there too. But like, it's not their favorite food. It's like, who are you as a person?
Yeah. What traits and triggers and stories are you going to pass down to our kids? That's a question people are not liking to ask. Like what we think dating with the intention to marry. Like, what about dating with the intention of finding your kid's parent, your co-parent? Um, it's it gets a little more, and for some people, they're like, oh, it doesn't have to be that serious, and maybe when you're younger, it might not need to be that serious. Though I don't think that like flippant dating is wild. I don't think like just casual dating is wildly healthy. I think it can be done much more healthier than other ways. So I'm not saying it's wrong by any means. And the difference in dating with intention, the intention of looking for your partner in life, your co-parent, your person, the questions get deeper, the intention is louder, the bond can become stronger much quicker, or can not be there at all much quicker. You get really quick feedback of like, oh, I don't think this person's my person. And that's fine because that's what you're looking for. So you can say, hey, I'm looking for a long-term thing and this doesn't feel like it, and that's fine. But it does, it changes, the intention changes everything. The intention is the game. Like, the intention really is, it's the driving factor of everything that we do, whether we know it or not.
And to go back into business for a to go back into business just for a second, um, how do you reconcile business strategy, right? And I say this not for myself, I say this for the audience because I know I have a very good idea, but for everyone listening, how do you recognize like the business strategy and the goals with with also with also trusting God's timing?
I think my answer for this has changed a lot in the last 6 months of doing business with Brian as a formal partnership. Because we put goals on the back burner and instead set an intention that we believe will get us to where we want to go. And then in terms of business strategy, I'll tell you this, truth is not wildly strategic. It's we've done the wrong thing for the business over and over and over again. And it's turned out to be the right thing for us and therefore the right thing for the business over and over and over again. And we see marketers and guys who are stuck in a pride cycle of saying like, I'll do all these amazing things for you, and like, will they, I don't know, but they'll try to prove it. We've seen that wreck people repeatedly, and so we find ourselves now kind of stepping back from goal setting, more focused on intentions. So what's the intention of our business for this month, this quarter, this year? Where is our intention going to lie? Our biggest effort's going to lie for the next 90 days. But in terms of like strategy, we really do the wrong thing for the business all the time, and it just keeps turning out right. It's kind of funny, but we refuse, we haven't even launched paid marketing yet. When we do, it's not going to look like a lot of people's marketing does right now. I'm honestly not even sure what it will look like at this point. But it probably won't be the message that people would say would sell. But the people we want to speak to is everyone who's been grinding and grinding and grinding, looking for more out there, who's ready to turn inward and sit down and find it right here. And like, that's a pretty big TAM. So I think that we'll find our people and it'll work out. But the strategy is really, like, truth has kind of shifted. Once you really start looking at truth, you realize how many lies just like you bought at some point and believed. And it's like, what if it doesn't have to be that way? What if that's not the only way to run an ad? What if we just tell the truth? How about this? What if whatever number I tell you I've produced is actually the one I did in the way that I did? What if, if Brian is going to claim that he's produced over $90 million on the internet, instead of saying that he did that all by himself as a solo producer or hinting to the fact that that might be real, he informs you that he did that through being a partner of an 8-figure organization that he led the sales team for, and being a CRO of a $2.5 million a month business that he led the 3 sales teams for 3 different products for, but he certainly didn't produce $2.5 million a month all by his lonesome. And so we really do say, like, what if we just told the truth? What if we just say exactly what happened in the context that it happened and let people respond to truth? Because the reality is there's always someone who will, no matter how big or small your accomplishments are, no matter if you are a 6-figure closer making $100,000 a year and you want to bring on sales coaching clients, there are people who will pay you even if you tell the whole truth about what your accomplishments look like. You have a 10% edge on someone, you know? And it's not sexy, and it goes against what all the marketing books tell you, to give the best version of the truth. Don't give all the context, because people don't need to know that you made all that money through a team and not just yourself. But also, one thing that Brian and I don't have to worry about is being found out. That we didn't do what we said we did the way we said we did it. Like, there's a lot of freedom and power in not carrying a lie. And so, strategically, truth is there's a reason that there's not a truth chapter in most of the business books. And still, people want truth. In a world that's gone crooked, people want truth tellers, and people are truth seekers. And so that really has been our business strategy, has just been, we set intentions, we are honest about what we believe we're capable of with our intentions, and then we truly do work, we push with that intention. We catch each
I think
other.
that's
Oh, go ahead.
that is so huge, because it's been something in my life where, similar to yourself, it's changed a lot in the last 6 months. Like, the last 6 months, holy crap, like, the Lord is working in such an incredible way in the online space and in individuals' lives. Like, I am so excited, like, genuinely so excited.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest things is, what was I going to say? It was, I, speaking to the intention and speaking to the genuine of being you, right? Like, I had a guy send me a message in my school group about coaching, and he's like, look, I'm comparing between either going with yourself or Josh Lyons. And he's like, I know, Josh Lyons has done 10 times more. He's like, but you feel authentic and you feel real. And, like, I don't care. He's like, I just resonate with the message that you've been talking about, because it's not the 1%. It's a real person with real things. And I think that type of marketing, I hope, I know it's not always going to be there with every person, but I think if we can get more of that into business, people are going to get better results for the things they buy because it's
Yes.
actually aligned.
Yes.
And also, the people fulfilling, like the business owners, if you're listening, like, you will be happier because you're not just in a persona 24/7. You get to be you.
And you get to be powerful. You don't have to force it all. You don't have to force it all. And you can naturally grow to the heights that you want to. You can naturally grow to the heights that you want to, instead of creating this house of cards that does not stand when the wind blows. We see the same thing too. Like, this is the market of people who we want to serve and love. We are constantly reminding them who you are and what you've done is enough. Why don't we just be it for now? See what happens. What if we just be okay with our real timeline, real results, our real production, the real numbers? And it's not easy. Liam, on our last podcast, I found myself, while I was telling you about starting at Traffic and Funnels, I watched myself think about potentially talking about how amazing I was at sales, or was I a closer and not a setter? Like, you didn't know. You don't know. I could have said whatever I wanted to. And I watched myself think about potentially fudging the story for how it might sound. And I came out of that podcast and I was like, how interesting that we are so bent on being the best that we don't even allow ourselves to shine. And like, we create these stories that, first of all, the people that buy them are at some point either going to find you out or realize that they bought a story, or they're going to then think that they should write a story for themselves instead of just being who they are, where they are, and taking the next right step. Everyone wants to jump to the top rung of the ladder. You know, the guy who's been a closer for 3 months and wants to be a fractional sales director. And it's like, what if you become the closer team lead and you do really well at that and you learn how to replicate the results that you get in sales with 4 other people on the team underneath you who now automatically look to you as the boss. So the next obvious role is sales manager, where you're not taking calls anymore, or maybe you're just taking 2 or 3 great calls a day and everybody else is looking to you for performance improvements. And then it's right, we move into sales director. You're running both teams. How amazing is that? The setters and the closers all reporting to you. You've got team leads and managers in place. And then you start joining marketing meetings and learning the marketing space. And you're the sales director learning the marketing space so that someday you can become the CRO, which you need a lot more skills than just being good at sales at to do. You know, but like, people keep trying to jump to the top rung of the ladder. And it's like, what if you just assess who you are and what you've done right now, exactly where you're at, and you take the next right step? I think people think that quantum leaps is like, but I was in the gutter and now I'm the president. And it's like, actually, so many people are focused on quantum leaping, even in sales. This is a great example. Everyone is so focused on becoming a fractional CRO that nobody is patient and humbly accepting the next right role for them and quickly climbing the ladder. Everyone's trying to jump for the top rung. And I'll tell you, the one that quickly takes the next step is who ends up on top. Like, there's the secret sauce. Just be where you're at and do what's right next. But selling these bogus stories, fudging the numbers, little white lies or little number lies or whatever, it's going to eat you. 1, you're going to be found out at some point. 2, and the damage that it does to your own view of yourself is hard to come back from, because there's a part of you going, I lied. Like, I got all of this, and what if they knew? I ended up where I wanted to end up, but what if these people knew how I did it? And like, that is redeemable. It's totally redeemable, and it's a mess that's not required at all. We can just do what's right next, now.
I love that. Tyler, I want to finish off with some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. That's going to be a challenge.
What's your why in one sentence?
My why in one sentence is I raise my own consciousness so that as a result, the consciousness of those around me it's possible for them to raise theirs too.
Lead with love or lead with strategy?
Love every time.
What keeps you up at night? Is it the vision or the responsibility?
Neither. It's the possibility that the right people won't. Well, it's the possibility that people will miss the boat.
What's a non-negotiable in business culture?
Do what you said you're going to do.
Do you believe in building slow and strong or scaling fast and just figuring it out?
Both are possible, but slow and strong leaves less people hurt.
What's the best decision you made in business this year?
Best decision we made in business this year is putting love first every time.
What's one biblical principle that shaped how you lead?
Be still and know that I am God. We lead from a place of stillness and clarity.
What's your favorite Bible verse?
Ooh, Galatians 2:20 says I've been crucified with Christ and it's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. The life that I now live in this body, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me.
Ooh, that Bible verse hit. That hit. And are you more of a pray in the morning, pray at night, or are you always in prayer?
I am a pray all day kind of gal. It's always happening all day, every day. There's a conversation with the Lord happening out loud and in my head.
Are you a worship music or a silence when you pray?
Both. I like worship music a lot though.
Yeah, me too. What's a Christian book that changed your life?
Christian book, the Bible? I don't know. Christian book that changed my life.
Or had a big impact on you?
The one that's coming to mind right now, which is really silly because I haven't thought about it in a long time, was "Kisses from Katie," which is a story about a girl who goes to Uganda and she ends up adopting like 19 orphans as like the most unqualified young single woman ever. But I specifically remember learning courage for Christ through that book as like a 14-year-old.
What's harder, patience or obedience for you?
Patience.
When it comes to giving and tithing, for you, is it always? Is it sometimes? Or is it still something you're working on?
That's something that we're working on right now. Yeah, we want to tithe. We've just found a church that we want to tithe to. So that piece of the puzzle has been solved, which is what we've kind of been working on recently. And so now setting it up so that our plan is 10% off the top line of the business will be our tithe. Like that is the technical first fruits of our life. So that is our intention. Probably, I think we'll get that set up this month or next month. Can move forward with that.
I love that. It's funny. Giving has been on mine and my wife's heart a lot lately. It's been like conversation after conversation. It's like, where are we giving to? What are we giving to? And if you haven't had a conversation like this, like for any of you listening, and you haven't talked about what you're going to give to, and even if you and your partner are like strapped and you're struggling financially, talk about how you're going to help others and then do something no matter how small it is, because it is very true. You will reap way more than you ever sow, and you will feel amazing. And more than that, people need help. So do it.
And they need love. They need love from wherever they get it. And sometimes the person who rolls the window down and says, "Hey, dude, do you need a meal?" is the only source of love they'll experience for weeks. And so why not that be you? What more of an honor is there than to be someone's love for the day?
What's your love language?
Words of affirmation. Tell me I'm ready. No. Yeah.
Most underrated key to a healthy relationship?
Ooh, baths. You need to own a bathtub. Bathtub needs to be big enough for 2 people. You need to get in the bath. You need to face each other. Talk about everything. Save your worst conversations for it. They're all easier when you're naked.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. Yes. It's a life hack. Like it's a cheat. People have paid me for coaching, and like a part of our coaching has been like, your homework is you guys need a bathtub. So I'm here.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I will message you the day I give that advice.
Perfect. You're gonna find yourself giving it soon.
I will. I promise I will. I really will.
It's amazing.
What's your go-to move when tension shows up in your relationship?
Acknowledge it. Acknowledge it. Call it out. Say, this is here. I'm mad at you. I look at Brian and say, I'm frustrated with you like 4 times a week. And that's fine. You know what's not fine? Chucking a TV remote at the wall or getting in my car and leaving.
Tyler, it has been incredible here to have you. Connection issues aside, like genuinely, thank you for coming back on. A new tradition that I'm trying to bring into the podcast, not trying, I am bringing in, uh, is very much having God centric, hence our conversation today. But what I'd love is I'd love you to close us in a word of prayer,
Oh, I love
if you would.
that. All right. God, thank you for today. Thank you for loving us enough to give us examples of love all over this planet. Thank you for giving us guidance in what it looks like to move towards you, even if it's just in the simple be still. God, I pray for anyone listening to this podcast right now that might be reaching for the answers or looking for what's right or looking for peace and purpose outside of them. I pray that you would help them turn inward and ask the question, what could I let go of to find the peace that's already here right now? Because that's how you built us. That's the way that you wired us so that we would always sit down and find you and find power in stillness and presence. Thank you for Liam. Thank you for what he's doing and how he's using his voice on this planet. I pray that you would put more power and more intention behind him, that it would be rocket fuel, that you'd help him change the lives of people all over this world. And I pray that you would just give us power to love you and live like you daily, and that you would help us continue to find our way when we don't. God, thank you for Jesus. It is in his name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Again, Tyler, thank you so much for coming on. And guys, if you like this episode, you want to get in and hear a bit more about sales generators and everything that we kind of discussed on that side, the link will be in the description for you to jump in. It's an incredible place to be.
You're amazing, Liam Shaw. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate you and love you. I do love you.
All right. Thank you so much. Guys, like, comment, subscribe, show some love. Show some love to Tyler.